Hello and welcome to Mr. Create. In this video, I'm going to be having to go with some minimalistic tools and setup, being that we just recently moved and my shop's not set up. Most of my tools, I don't even know where they are. So in this video, we'll be making use of an area that just really didn't have any purpose earlier. We just threw a bunch of bags and all sorts of other stuff, but now we're going to make it into a useful storage area for the kitchen by putting some shelves into it. There's a few interesting things that we'll run into with this. For example, on either side, there's not very much support to anchor supports for the shelf, so we're going to have to run vertical supports that will be screwed into a stud, and then there's two back corner places that have supports that I can screw into to anchor the shelf. So we'll be using this board. I have all the pieces measured out into it. What I need to do next is take a straight edge and draw lines and then cut it. So inside, what I'll be doing is measuring from the bottom of the cabinet up to the height that I need for the shelf. I'll make sure it fits the pan that is needed to fit there. It's the biggest, or I should say the tallest of all the pans. And then I'll mark lines around the cabinet area where I'll make the height for the shelf. Okay. So the first step is I'm going to take the straight edge and draw the lines that I'll be using as guides for when I cut the board. A good saying I learned a while ago: measure twice, cut once. Measure everything so you can use the least amount of boards, as that cuts down your costs. Okay, and then verify once you clamp your board to your chair or whatever thing you're using, make sure that it's clear of what you're cutting. So the first cut I'm going to do is this part here, and then this one, because if I wait to cut these later, it's going to be harder. And then next I'm going to cut these support pieces. So use the proper protective gear, put on your earplugs, your safety glasses, and we're ready to go. Okay, you can see I cut beyond my line. I got this as scraps, so I know I'm okay to do that. Because as a circular saw blade, it doesn't cut, you see it's cut here, but on the bottom it's only cut to about there. So if I want it to be cut there and without having to take out a handsaw, that makes it much easier to cut beyond that. So that having that piece of scrap there is very helpful. Okay, I'm now going to cut this way and cut off all of these extra pieces. But again, if you're cutting it this way, you got to make sure you stop before you hit the chair. So in this case, the chair is all the way back to here, so I'm good. Okay, we'll rotate it to cut these last pieces. I'm going to cut from this direction. Now I'm going to cut these two pieces free and then cut this last. So this was scrap, so I was clear to overcut into that, and then this will be my final cut. Final cut's going to be along here. Now we need to measure the corner. So I'm going to figure out what's my top and what's my bottom. Because in one of the corners, the back corner, the right-hand corner, I need to notch it out because there's a support that's built into the cabinet that I need to figure into the shape of the board. So I want this to be my front piece because it's got a finished piece right here. And there's notches right along here. So I want this to be the side that people see. So if this is my right-hand corner, I'll cut it there. Whenever you work on projects, double check to make sure you're the right side up, because nothing's worse than be working on a project and then realize you cut the notch on the wrong corner. So I'm going to clamp this down like before. Okay, let's go at this again. Safety glasses, earplugs, ready to go. Okay, you can see that when I cut it, I didn't cut all the way over like I was doing when I had the scrap because I don't want to mess up the top. So on the bottom there's extra wood because again of the circular shape of the blade, so I don't have to finish it off with a handsaw. Okay, that's done. We're ready to go inside and install it. So when we go to install it, we're putting 2 shelves in this cabinet area. So it's going to be a repeat of this exact same process to make both shelves. So let's go in and mount them. Okay, through the magic of YouTube, the first shelf is installed. You can see the supports I was telling you about earlier. The corners, the top shelf in, here's all the pieces. Okay, I'm gonna put this one here. Sorry, I'm having to do a handheld. The space doesn't allow for much. Okay, this one in this corner. Of course, doesn't want to stay there. I'm gonna be putting a screw in, but there's a stud right back there, fortunately. Fortunately for this project. That one there. And the last one is going to go right here. I'm going to screw that in and the top shelf will go in. I'll show you what it looks like as soon as I get the shelf in. After that, it will be down to painting and that will be it. Okay, so for the most part, this project has been relatively simple. You don't really need any fancy tools even, which is one of the great things about it. All we used was a circular saw, hand saw, tape measure, some sort of straight edge. In this case we used a square, a Sharpie, a board, and that's about it. I used a driver to put the screws into the wall. So it was a pretty quick, simple, easy project. Over here is what we started with, and over here is our finished product. Hope this encourages you to go out and work on some projects of your own. Please make sure you hit the subscribe button and check out our other videos. Thank you for watching.